Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is Out of Bounds. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, with my two best friends, the Welsh and the Scott Bogman, and it's all of you hanging out on our Twitch, live watching us every 2 p.m. Eastern or thereabouts, depending on when we start. But usually 2 p.m. Eastern is when Out of Bounds is live on our Twitch. And if you haven't already, make sure you go over and find us on Twitch, twitch.tv/fantasypros. That's the place to be. And of course, we're still on our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, trying to get to 300,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel this year. Fingers crossed. I know we can do it. And of course, today, well, we've got a few football things to talk about. Just a couple. I was a little panicked yesterday morning. I woke up, did the TV show, started to put Out of Bounds together. I went, man, oh man, I hope some things start to happen, because all we have is this Geno Smith thing from the weekend. And then basically NFL free agency started to explode all over the place. So we're going to take you through all of that right here on the channel right now. Let's start with Seattle, because that's kind of the place to be to talk about these things, but not the place to be if you want to play football anymore, because Geno Smith is on his way to the Raiders for a 2025 third-round pick. There you have it. So let's start with Geno, and then we'll move on to DK, who's also out of Seattle and on his way to Pittsburgh. Geno first, though. Welsh, what does this mean first for the Seattle Seahawks? You're moving off of Geno, who's had some pretty strong success. A guy, I think, in that transition last year too, without Pete Carroll around, kind of found his sea legs eventually. But where does Seattle go next for their quarterback if it's not Geno now?
I think that's a great question. I would assume it's going to be probably in some capacity through the draft. The free agent market, I assume the Raiders were probably trying to go and get Matthew Stafford. And without Stafford on the table. And most likely, I guess the only other surprise is, like, where's Darnold in this discussion? That this might have been, the best complementary piece. Like, when I look at a guy like Geno, I look at Geno as the stopgap quarterback for something bigger. And the only something bigger I could foresee with the Raiders would be getting a young quarterback in there and having Geno being that let's be competitive stopgap right now. So, yeah, the bridge. That's a better way to put it. So that's what I think they're going to do. And it's funny because I think a lot of people have been mocking, like, Genti at 6 to the Raiders, and I legitimately think you need to watch for them going and taking a quarterback to go with Geno. I think that's the play right now. But with Seattle, I'm not sure what their play is. They're trading away all of the pieces. They've got a couple young guys in there. It's going to have to be a complete rebuild unless they shock us and bring in like a Sam Darnold. And if they bring in like a Sam Darnold, I think that would kind of open. I don't know what they would do with their wide receiver core, because it's a skeleton crew of what it was. But at this point, it looks like it's a mess. It looks like Seattle is going to be the bottom of this division.
Yeah, it certainly seems like Darnold would be one of the options there. I think the big winner here potentially is JSN. I mean, all the targets certainly going to him. Lockett's gone. DK Metcalf. It doesn't matter. I mean, the targets are going there.
Well, if they're Sam Howell targets, then yes, they will matter.
Okay, fair enough. I don't. But Boggs, you don't think it's Sam Howell? Like, I don't think you.
They love him. I said this to Pat all offseason last year. They love Sam Howell. And listen, I was like, okay, maybe Sam Howell's got a little something. We saw him. He doesn't. So I hope that's not their plan. You would think that Darnold is in there, maybe trading for Kirk Cousins is still available. I guess there are options out there, but you had your bridge option. You had it in Geno Smith. I don't understand why they wanted to trade him. I guess they decided a third-round pick was good enough because Pete Carroll wanted him in Vegas. So, which I don't understand this for Vegas either. You're sitting at 6. Apparently they just don't like Shedeur Sanders, or it's what Welsh said, where they're going to have Geno be the bridge, and they just don't think that Sanders is ready yet. So let's go ahead and take him and let him learn from Geno for this season, next season, or a season and a half. From what I would think would happen is probably more like half a season, and then we'd see Shedeur. So I don't know what the Raiders are doing. All these moves from Seattle. I mean, why would Sam Darnold want to go there now? They're tearing everything apart.
I know. Money.
Money is nice, like Myles Garrett, who really wanted to win until the Browns offered him $40 million a year.
It's
he
funny.
was like, you know what? I love Cleveland. Never hated Cleveland. It's my favorite.
It's funny. You start laying down those greens, and all of a sudden things start changing. People's perspective gets a little different here. You ever think maybe the Raiders might trade out of that spot too? Maybe move down. Maybe they prefer a quarterback like a Jackson Dart and they think they can get him a little later. Do you think
100%.
that might be part of this equation here where the Raiders maybe pick up some more draft capital? Because they do need a lot more. But Geno can be good for you for not just a year. Geno can be good for you for a couple years if you don't think this quarterback class
I
is
mean, listen,
worthy at all.
Geno's not good right now. So I don't know what we're talking about there.
But he's
I
still
don't.
better than what they had. You got to
Yep.
admit that.
Yeah, he's better
Right.
than Aiden O'Connell for sure. He has starting experience. To me, Geno is a very good quarterback until it matters, and when it matters, he folds up. Like we've seen that multiple times. So, yeah, I maybe they just stay and take Jackson Dart because I think a lot like Michael Penix last year. No one expected Penix to go that high, and then everybody said, "No way, the Broncos are going to take Bo Nix. He's not worth it here," and they did. So QBs get raised up in every single draft.
Does Geno hurt Brock Bowers at all?
No, I think he would help because he's better than Aiden O'Connell in the mess that they had last year. So that he is an improvement for their team context, but I don't think he's the guy to get them over the hump or even to playoff discussion, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a good question. We'll be keeping an eye on Seattle in the next days ahead and see where they're going to fill their quarterback shoes. Also, the Steelers acquired DK Metcalf from the Seahawks in exchange for a second-round pick. So they gave up a lot to get him. Here's a question here from M. Wainwright. What does DK Metcalf's trade do to the value of him in Dynasty? Welsh, I mean, it's kind of hard to say, I think, and answer that question because we don't know who the quarterback is in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think that's really key. I mean, I think this is a huge move for Pittsburgh in general to be able to move Pickens to the number 2 and DK gets to be the number 1. And I think if you look at just have an arbitrary quarterback right now, this is a good move. This is a positive move, I think, for the high flying that the Steelers are going to do. Now, they can go bring in, we've talked about a Nick Chubb, and you can get this annoying just run offense. But I think there's the high potential that this could be a positive. But the problem is, it's who's the quarterback? Is it Fields? Is it Russ? Is it Aaron Rodgers? I mean, that probably I don't know how much it plays a role in changing the value, but Boggs, I mean, you're the dynasty guy. Is this a general up or down on Metcalf to you?
I think it has to lower his value because you're right. We have no idea who the QB is going to be right now. If it's Aaron Rodgers, maybe it's a boost because Aaron Rodgers is so much better than Geno Smith. If it's Sam Darnold, I would say it's a bit of a boost as well. But if it's anyone else, if it's a young guy or an older vet or something like that, I think it has to lower his value because of the rate that Arthur Smith wants to run at. And they built the O-line. Metcalf was brought into Pittsburgh not only to catch passes downfield, but because he is a nasty run blocker. And so is, Pickens when he puts the effort in. So hopefully a little bit of that rubs off on Pickens. I'm not sure, but we'll see.
What about Russ if Russ comes back? Because
I think that's that would be good.
That's your best case scenario, I think, if you're DK Metcalf, because you have that
probably because you have the connection and everything. But all the rumors in Pittsburgh are that Russ does not want to come back now. So I kind of see that one as flying out the window.
Why would he not want to come back Russ, as DK?
Well, because the Steelers just made him no offers at all, and he hasn't. The phone has not been ringing for him from Pittsburgh. So. I think.
Maybe if you don't collapse after a 10-3 record or whatever it was, down the stretch, maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe that's why they don't want you back. I mean, they did hand you the job after an injury after Fields was 4-2, so I really don't understand why you'd be.
I think it was the right thing to do in the time because and even I was against it. I didn't think that Russ was going to be better than Justin Fields, but you ruin your relationship with both those guys with the collapse down the stretch, not calling him in the offseason, and then Fields is like, I will not sign back with Pittsburgh unless you guarantee me that I'm the starter for the full year.
And why wouldn't he? I mean, you got off to a 4-2 start, and then you replace him with a guy 10 years older, and it goes good for a little while, and then it all falls apart at the end. If I was Justin Fields, I wouldn't want to be back with the Steelers unless I had guarantees.
I agree
on many levels. So,
and it sounded like Fields was the only quarterback that of what you were talking about that would be a downgrade to DK. Who are the other available quarterbacks? Because everybody else seemed like it was Rodgers. It seems like there's pluses outside of just Justin Fields.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if it's Kyle Allen throwing to him, then who knows? But I also think just overall, unless because Aaron Rodgers is a 1-year gap fill, right? So in Dynasty, you're looking for at least a 3-year window. Who is going to be the quarterback next year? No idea. So
I'll say this. I mean,
I think
he's an interesting
it's good for
buy.
volume, especially if they trade Pickens, which is on the table.
Well, that was my next question, Box, because I feel like this is kind of a power play move on Pickens, right? Because now it's kind of like, look, perform, shape up, be great, or you're kind of gone next year, or even earlier if you're alluding to that too. I think it would be nice to entice a quarterback having both of those wide receivers, but at the same, I don't think that's happening now. I think it's more of the power play for next year for Pickens. That's how I see this DK Metcalf move. But it is tough right now to gauge his value. If anything, maybe he's an interesting buy because people are panicking about what that quarterback position looks like. And maybe you take a shot here and people go, well, I don't know what it's going to be. It's going to be so terrible. Maybe get
but if
DK
they sign A-Rod today, then his value is people are going to be excited.
I cannot imagine that they made this move without saying we're going to get like a guy in here. Like you probably made this move to entice a quarterback to want to come play, whether it is a Fields or Russ to come back or an Aaron Rodgers. You don't trade a second round pick, especially the Steelers, who are notoriously stingy with everything. Why would to go and trade that pick for a guy like DK? I just don't think you're going to sit on your hands and not do. They're going to do something at quarterback of impact.
Hopefully it's Darnold. That's
hopefully
who I
it's
want.
Rodgers.
But thank you.
Can we
Welsh.
live
Welsh
stream
loves
Twitch or YouTube that moment with Bogman?
We might be doing it right now.
Oh, can we do it uncensored though? How many beeps do we have available, Michael Callie, our producer? I'm just curious. Like what do we have a quota? Like we can only hit so many within an hour. I don't know. We'll figure that out. We got a lot more NFL signings. We got guys going back to teams, guys moving on from teams, more rumors floating around. But before we get into all of that, a quick word from DraftKings, because the NBA season is here and it's rocking and the playoffs around the corner. And there's plenty of ways to get in on the NBA action over at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. If you're ready to place your first bet, try betting on something simple like picking how many points your favorite player will have. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app right now, make your pick, and you can take it to the rack with DraftKings Sportsbook. Every point counts. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use that promo code FantasyPros when you do. That's code FantasyPros, and new customers get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. All right, gentlemen, let's get to some more news and notes from the NFL because there's a lot to do. And after all this, we're going to talk about some of the worst heists of the week. That's right. Not Ocean's 11 or even 12 or 13. This was like Ocean's.
What about 8?
2.5. I don't know. I didn't see 8. I saw Ocean's 13 or no 12. Always liked 11. 12 I thought was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And I almost stopped watching it 3 times. So therefore I'll never watch another one. But the first one I like. After that,
13 was not bad, but 12 pretty much wrecked everything. It was not good.
I don't think I saw any of those. What's the one with all the ladies?
That's the 8. That's the 8.
Isn't that Julia Roberts? Was she the ringleader?
No,
I don't think she's in the other one.
Sandra Bullock. Yeah, she was in the other one.
Speaking of movies with numbers,
12, playing herself, by the way,
in
Ocean's 12. Not great.
That's right. That's right.
That was so dumb. It was so stupid. Anyway. Speaking of movies with numbers in it, saw Mickey 17 this weekend.
Oh, excellent. Man, I want to see that so bad. Is
so
it
good. Pattinson crushed it. It's like sci-fi dark comedy, like just awesome. And the guy who directed Parasite, which is a great movie, got it. See the Mickey 17. Very enjoyable evening out at the movie theater, which is hard to say nowadays, especially when they keep making all these Oceans movies. Anyway, let's get to a wide receiver on the move here. Going to warmer places. DK Metcalf wanted to go to a warmer place. He went to Pittsburgh, but instead, Davante Adams, 2 years, $46 million with the Rams. Welsh, this seems like a great move. I love this because I think it keeps Davante Adams still solidly in that wide receiver 2 fantasy tier. But with Puka Nakua's health issues that we've had in college and even in the pros to a certain extent, you know that Davante Adams can fill that number 1 role. He's playing with a veteran quarterback who still has a lot left in the tank, it felt like, from last year. I love this move for Davante Adams, who at times still looked pretty good, even though the Jets were pretty bad. What do you think about this move for Mr. Davante Adams?
Real quick, before you answer, Sam Darnold just signed with the Seahawks. 3 years, 100 million.
Wow. Look at that. Okay, so Darnold comes in, you have JSN, you have the 2 running backs, you can draft another wide receiver, right? I think Seattle's just, new regime
that's the
comes
move.
In, they want to pick
why you get rid of Geno. That's the move right there. It's done. So we have that. We have that solution, and he will not be signing in Pittsburgh, which means it's
Oh,
probably going to be.
by the way, on that note, our producer said Twitch is okay with as many expletives as you want. So really, it's just the back end people that have to beep everything. So get ready. Who knows what could happen in the next 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah,
But
these
Welsh,
go on YouTube.
Yeah. Back to Davante Adams. Let's talk about it. What do you think of this for his fantasy value?
I think this is great for Davante Adams' value. Like, this is a big plus. It seemed like there are a lot of destinations where, I don't know, you'd be like, he's a 2, but in, this offense, like, they're going to sling the ball like crazy. And obviously with the injuries, like, he can jump into that number 1. So, like, overall value, I think from rank perspectives and dynasty perspectives, what dynasty for him is tougher, this is like a plus. It's just confusing, I suppose, when they had Cooper Kupp, but I guess this is telling of them that Cooper Kupp and Davante Adams' talent pool are on other tiers. Like, that is how far off Cooper Kupp has regressed as a wide receiver, that he can't be a fill-in number 1. He can't be a winning team number 2. And because I think the initial reaction when we saw Adams go there, everyone was like, what? Like, what about Kupp? You had that. And it's like, well, no, Kupp really must have fallen off. So I wonder where he goes and what his value looks like and what even type of wide receiver he can be. But, Adams still proved to be an incredible route runner. Stafford's going to sling the living crap out of the ball. And Adams is going to get open. And this is absolutely game changing. Probably, I'd arguably say the best place he could have gone of any possible destination.
I think you're right. I love it. And it's wide receiver 2-ish price because Puka's still there, right? He's still the main target guy. But the upside is some wide receiver 1 weeks. And again, if anything happens to Puka, man, wheels up for Davante Adams. That is a great scenario, I think. It's funny, Boggs, as we're doing the show and I was watching you as Welsh was talking, I feel like we're in this weird Agatha Christie novel where like people are starting to die off. Sam Darnold goes to Seattle, and I can feel the dread setting in for you as you're like, oh, that happened. Okay. That's going to be all right. And then, this quarterback ended up there. Okay. Yeah, everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Look, I was right 4 months ago or whatever when we were talking about this.
You were
right. I told you this is exactly what's going to happen, and it's coming to fruition. I do not like it. So,
oh my God, my only hope.
This is the Ian Malcolm. I hate. Boy, do I hate being right all the time in Jurassic Park.
3 years. 3 years, 110 million, 55 million guaranteed is the number.
For Darnold?
Darnold, yep.
That guaranteed number is a little, I think, reasonable for everybody, considering. I don't think it's the worst, 55 guaranteed. You think it's the worst, Welsh, from that look on your face?
No, I'm not sure it's the worst. It's just...
It's appropriate.
It is jarring to see contracts in football versus baseball because every baseball contract is like 9 years. It's like
$700 million.
Yeah, or $400 million. And it's like everyone's like, oh man, they really got their future. 3 years. It's $100 million commitment on 3 years is just jarring. But yeah, maybe the guaranteed in this day and age where like $45 million for a franchise Brock Purdy quarterback is embarrassing and insulting. Like $55 million guaranteed on 3 years is probably a pretty good situation.
All right, let's get to some guys returning to their teams. Aaron Jones back with the Vikings, which we predicted on the show just last week. Chris Godwin, I want to say Welsh predicted at least. Maybe both of you were on that one, right?
Was it Welsh? It was Welsh. I thought he was gone because McMillan filled in the slot.
Yeah, see, I thought there would be temptation there, but hey, good situation here for both these guys. We know what we're getting out of them in fantasy. Look, Jones is another year older, but I think we all can agree the Vikings had a need. Jones fit that need. It was a smart thing to bring him back there. And Chris Godwin, probably maybe slow in training camp. Maybe that's what they're thinking here, Boggs, too. Like maybe you just maybe you don't have Godwin for the first month of the season. You've got McMillan and we get everybody healthy. You can make a really strong run. Like I like both of these returns here for both these players, fantasy value wise, you know what you're getting, but Jones another year younger. So another, I think, drop in the ranks because you just have to do that with running backs.
Yeah. And they're probably going to draft someone. There's so many good running backs. I would imagine the Vikings draft his replacement in this class as well. So yeah, I mean, but it makes sense. They don't run a lot. He's getting older. He's still valuable. Limit his touches to limit his injuries as well. I think it's a smart signing. And Godwin back to Tampa Bay. I mean, once he's healthy, we know what we're getting. It's just how long is it going to take for him to recover from that nasty ankle injury?
All right. Zach Ertz and Mike Gesecki are returning to their respective spots too. So the Commanders re-signed Ertz. Not surprising there. A good rapport. Look, this offense ran pretty well, and now they've got Debo Samuel in there too in that mix. And Mike Gesecki, 3-year deal. That one was a little bit more surprising to me. But Boggs, you're the dynasty guy. Is this kind of the death knell for Eric All? I know he had an ACL tear and all that stuff too, but when you bring back a guy for 3 years, it wasn't a 1-year deal. It was a 3-year deal for Gesecki. Is All somebody in dynasty leagues you're dropping?
Yeah, Eric All's torched. I mean, he's going to miss all of 25. So,
Right.
A late round pick. There's a bunch of good tight ends coming. I mean, the potential is there eventually, but what is he going to be when he comes back? I'm not waiting to find out.
All right. Another wide receiver returning to their former destination. The Chiefs brought back Hollywood Brown, so we'll see what he looks like over a full season. But it wouldn't be an offseason for the Chiefs if a wide receiver didn't get arrested, now would it? So Adam Schefter was reporting that authorities have opted not to pursue domestic violence charges against Xavier Worthy. There was an incident on Friday night. I mean, well, she can't make this stuff up. It feels like every single offseason now, we have to have a wide receiver, or more specifically, a wide receiver on the Chiefs get into some sort of issue. It is bizarre, to say the least, but looks like Worthy might have avoided a bigger issue here.
Yeah, I I thought we were getting trolled. I was like, nah, we've already seen this. This has happened with Rashee Rice, and then that, and I literally thought it was a copy and paste situation. I mean, I guess that's a big positive if they drop charges. I know the NFL can jump in and they can still mandate whatever they can still pursue anything, but that's a crazy one. Like, in that moment of the arrest, I was like, well, of course you had to re-sign Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
But because Xavier Worthy looks like he's going to be in massive trouble. This looks like a little bit less, but I mean, Worthy just put himself in such a huge, he put himself in the Rashee Rice role with the Chiefs. I mean, he became a game changer on the second half of the season. So you take this with Hollywood Brown coming back, Rashee Rice trying to get, I mean, I'm really not sure what his placement is. Are you, Boggs, in a dynasty platform with Worthy right now? Is it the worst time ever to trade him right now because of this arrest? And or do you need some time to cool off? Would you be trying to get out from under him with this?
No, not at all, because this was not his fault. He hired a private investigator to follow his girlfriend. He found out that she was cheating 2 weeks before this. He asked her to move out. She refused to move out. She attacked him. She ripped his hair out. She scratched his face up. So, and I think she lied to the cops. So, at least, I guess, allegedly in the report. So this seems like Xavier Worthy was the victim of this craziness here, not the aggressor at all. So that is why because Texas doesn't screw around. If they drop the charges, it's because they can't find anything. So seems like Worthy is free and clear of this right now. So, but like you said, the NFL will send their investigators in, and we'll see. I mean, this kind of, Tyreek Hill kind of got hit with all this stuff as well. Like, it was more extortion and blackmail than it was, I mean, Tyreek Hill doesn't have the cleanest record in the world, obviously, but
no.
It seems like this stuff, was not Worthy's fault. He had to cut off all of his hair. I don't know if you guys saw that, but she ripped out so much of his hair, he just cut his dreads out. So,
wow.
Yeah. So
That's
it seems like, but I think Welsh is 100% correct.
Really
like,
mad at me. She pulled out all my hair.
yeah. That's Joe's story too. All of his hair.
Hey man, I feel you.
Angry
I feel you,
ex.
Right? I got you, man.
No, but I think, Welsh, you're completely right. Like, when this happened, the Chiefs saw it and went, well, we got to at least bring back Brown. We don't know when Rice is coming back from the tear and his suspension, right?
Can you imagine Hollywood Brown's agent, as soon as he saw that news, he was like, beep, bop, boop. Hey, what's going on? Yeah. You know what? Hollywood would really like to come back to the Chiefs this year. He'd really love it. It'd be super cool. You guys interested? Just saying. He's going to do his best to not get arrested this offseason.
Because might have a need. Maybe.
How
do all three exist, by the way? That's the last thing. Just like Worthy, Rice, and Brown. How do all three exist, and who's the one that gets hurt on value?
Marquise Brown plays 4 games and gets hurt again. And then Rashee Rice plays 8 games in the back half of the year. I mean, because we gotta put the suspension in also. So
can he be suspended? And I guess here's the thing: can they clear him to play and then take the suspension, but he's not really cleared to play. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Like,
because you have to have that roster spot. He'll have to be on the
No,
IR
what
'cause
just
he's
saying
not
is
gonna
like
be
just
back.
saying is like he's
yeah,
not
can you work
healthy.
the
You
system?
clear him, and then you can let him be suspended while he's really rehabbing.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I think only if you want to save that roster or burn that roster spot. I guess it would be the same deal, but I honestly don't know how all that works.
Yeah.
So
I got a feeling that's what they're gonna do, because that's what I would want to do if I was an NFL team.
game the system, sure.
Right. Yeah. Stink's got a question here. I'm going to make a change to it because I think I know what he's asking. Why do the Bengals resign Gesecki until I believe he's talking about Hendrickson?
Yeah.
And so he could seek a trade when defense was their biggest problem. It's a great question. Stink. I don't understand it. Boggs, you're the IDP guy. Hendrickson's a terrific pass rusher. There's been a lot of teams that would love to have him. I know there's a lot of good young edge rushers in the draft this year, but this one doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. What do you think about this one?
It's incompetence, honestly. Like I don't even know how to answer that question. It's the dumbest thing I've seen this offseason. Like, first of all, you cut Sam Hubbard, who played high school in Cincinnati. He went to the University of Cincinnati. He was drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals. You cut him and he retires. So maybe he's just going to retire anyway, but you don't try to restructure that guy. Like, obviously, he only wants to play in Cincinnati. That was his whole career goal. So he'd rather retire than play for another team. I thought that was inept, unless he just wanted to retire and he was physically done.
Yeah,
He's
they got
29.
rid of the defensive coordinator, who was actually a really good defensive coordinator, just had a ton of injuries and bad personnel. He was
Yeah,
very loved by all the players. Like that was also another
Maruno.
weird-
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't remember how to say his last name, but yeah, he's in Indy now. And I mean, Hendrickson was your best defensive player. So to allow him to seek a trade, it might just be like, hey, look, we're not trading you no matter what. Maybe that's what it is. Kind of like
Maybe.
the Myles Garrett thing, right? Where it was, I think everybody said there was just no way Myles Garrett was getting traded. And I think maybe we're seeing the same thing in Cincy.
All right. Let's talk about the quarterbacks before we do. Just a quick reminder for everybody out there that our Discord community is out and about. So if you've got opinions and things to say, or you're looking for leagues next year, or some insight on trades and dynasty, or in your redraft leagues, whatever it is, we've got AMAs, we've got amazing things going on our Discord, and you can be all part of it right now at fantasypros.com/chat. There's also ways to be on the show, because Worm Fitz, 5 Eastern every Tuesday, the first Tuesday of every month, and then Fitz and Boggs, 5 Eastern, the third Tuesday of every month. They're doing shows live on there, so you can ask them questions, be part of the shows over on our Discord, fantasypros.com/chat. So the Saints restructured Derek Carr's contract, Welsh, and it seems like obviously they have massive cap issues, right? The worst cap situation in the league. Makes a lot of sense. Do you think they had him restructure it just to sign free agents, or to restructure it to make it friendlier to move Derek Carr somewhere else?
Ooh, I mean, I kind of see the structuring of like, oh, good, we can have a quarterback. Like, we can have somebody, because the market, obviously, like, Darnold was never coming. The trade options are out there. I think it's becoming few and far between. But I think it's that. And I think it's more of being able to have any flexibility in free agency. I'm not sure that they would restructure to then move off of him. I think it would be bring in whatever, God knows. I mean, what does their cap number look like right now? Do we have that?
It's
over the cap says they're still over, which is,
Yeah.
I don't know how that's possible. I think you had to be.
Oh no, it's massive. Spot Track right now, I'm looking at it. New Orleans, the worst team in the league. They're over by 21 million as of today.
And that's
you use over
the
the cap for NFL, and over the cap's better because it only does NFL. They are right now 7.1 mil over, 12.5 over in effective cap space.
And that's
they
probably
still have
after
cuts
the
to
Carr
make.
move. Yeah, they still have big cuts to make. So hell, it might even be more about just being able to put out the team that you've got, not about bringing anybody in, or being able to pay your rookies. So the answer is I don't think that they restructured this in a way that it's to move Derek Carr. I think it's a move to be able to have a quarterback and be able to have the closest number to or the closest to get under the cap, so this team can actually function. I don't think it was a super strategic move outside of, oh my God, thank you, you just protected us.
The Saints, I would say, they're a sneaky play for Jackson Dart, right? Like, we saw the Falcons sign Kirk Cousins, and out of nowhere, here's Michael Penix as well. I think the Saints could be doing hey, let's restructure Derek Carr, and then maybe a pick 9. I mean, they have so many needs. I don't know that it would be the best move, but because they don't have the money like the Patriots to fix the whole offensive line. But what are you if you don't have a franchise quarterback? In the
Well,
NFL?
that was going to be my point
yeah.
back to you. It's like if you think that Dart's your guy, then go get him. Because
Right.
once you have the quarterback, everything else falls into place in the NFL. Coach and quarterback, the two most important pieces. Everything else will eventually work itself out. But if you either have those two pieces or you don't.
Remember when they could have had Lamar Jackson and they traded up for Marcus Davenport instead? Remember that?
I remember when the fading Tom Brady could have been replaced with Lamar Jackson as well, and they traded up to take, or they just took Sony Michel. So
well, the Steelers took Terrell Edmonds, a third-round safety in the first over Lamar Jackson. Yeah. So a bunch of teams remember who they could have had, who they had instead of Lamar Jackson right now. So
all right, well, the Jets are looking for a quarterback, and they are most interested in free agent Justin Fields. So there you have it, everybody. So they love his, and this is a quote, his athleticism, his leadership traits, his ability to move in the pocket, and maybe most importantly, they believe his best football is ahead of him. So there you have it. I've been saying this for a while. I think it makes a ton of sense for the Jets to run the crap out of the football, have Breece Hall, have Braylon Allen, have Garrett Wilson, Justin Fields, a young athletic team you put together there. I think that's a roster that can be really competitive, and I think Fields reunited with Garrett Wilson is the best thing
signed
for this guys.
With the Jets as we're speaking.
Oh my God, he did! Look at
2 years, 40 mil, 30
right
guaranteed.
There. Yeah, let's go. It feels good to be right.
You a Jets fan? What's going on?
Yeah, I know.
Spun the wheel. I hate the Jets, but this is great. I spin the wheel of quarterbacks a couple weeks ago. I've been on this for months. Everyone telling me I'm crazy. I feel like, the kid in Goonies where they kept telling him he's crazy with all the booby traps he's setting and everyone's not paying attention to them. And then, when the worst thing happens and all of a sudden there's data with the booby traps saving everything, saving all of the Goonies. That's what I just did, Jet fans.
If we stay on another 30 minutes, we might have the rest of the NFL quarterbacks signed up. Like we've already had 2 signed up.
I am a big fan of being right. So let's talk about it. And it's funny. We did the read in between. We kind of pushed the story right as it happened. Oh, all right. So I gotta. Do you have any downers, Welsh? You got anything in your pockets?
Just my face.
Let's go. All right. So here we go. Justin Fields on the New York Jets. First take. Go.
I think it has to be a boost. It guarantees him a starting spot. But I mean, the smart aleck in me is just like, did the Jets take him because they can't protect the quarterback no matter what they do? So
yes.
At least they have the running guy.
That helps.
So I mean, it's a huge boost for him because he is guaranteed to be the starter this year. So they could take somebody in the second round or something.
That's what I was just about to say. I was going to say, but do you think they go and draft a quarterback in the second and third round?
No way. He's how I don't know how long
the 2-year deal, Joe.
How old is
it's not forever.
How old is Fields now?
27.
26? Yeah.
I was going to say 26, 27, right? Look, you give him the 2-year deal. You hope that first year is good. If the first year is good, you extend him out and life is great for you. Aaron Glenn is a great football coach. It starts with bringing in good football people. He's a great football guy. I can't believe I'm like the cheerleader of the Jets. I don't know how this happened. We kind of bizarro upside down.
He just turned 26.
He just turned 26. Okay. So yeah, I mean, this makes perfect sense. And now we go back to our doom and gloom knives out scenario here for Bogman, because now Sam Darnold's off the board. Justin Fields is off the board. How's that noose around your neck tightening? How's that feel, Boggs? Feeling pretty good at Pittsburgh?
Never wanted Russell Wilson back more in my life.
Yeah, who the hell is left besides Roger? There's Rodgers and Wilson, and who else?
Yeah, I mean those are your like viable options. So yeah, it's looking more and more. I'm staring down the barrel.
How many destinations are there left, though? How many destinations are there left? There's Steelers.
Well, it depends on what your evaluation of quarterbacks in the NFL is, but the Pittsburgh Steelers certainly top on the contender list.
How about Jameis?
Yeah, there's Jameis out there. Okay.
That's it. I mean, honestly, it's Zach Wilson and Trey Lance would be the other guys, or trade for somebody.
Yikes! Maybe knock on the door of the New Orleans Saints, see if they really like
Daniel Jones, DJ
Daniel Jones.
That's who it could be. But I mean, the Vikings are trying to get him back, and I've heard the Colts are in on DJ as well. So
interesting. Sager's got a question here. What does this mean for Fields and Dynasty, Boggs? This is look. I don't want to say that all of a sudden he becomes a prolific quarterback, but here's the thing: the rushing equity is huge in fantasy. He's the starter. I don't think there's any competition or any question. He's gone there because he's gotten guarantees that he's not going to get jerked around like he got jerked around in Pittsburgh, and they've blown it. And I think this is a huge boost for his fantasy value. I traded for him last year when he got benched in one of my dynasty leagues, and I'm very glad that I did, because now I've got a QB2 in Justin Fields who's going to run around, and my QB1 is Jaden Daniels in that league. So how do you feel about Fields playing for the Jets now as the starter in 2025 and beyond in dynasty, Box?
Yeah, I have him right now at 27. Who would you guys rather have, Sam Darnold with the Seahawks or Fields with the Jets?
Sam Darnold with the Seahawks or Fields in fantasy? I'd rather have Fields because of the rushing equity. Welsh, how about you?
Man, yeah, I get there's such good weapons around Fields too. So I guess I would go if I don't know, maybe if
that's the right answer.
If DK was still with Seattle, I might say Darnold, maybe. But
how about Fields versus Penix? Fields is only a year older than Penix. Penix was old coming in. So, and he has the rushing upside. Penix has none of it, but it's only a 2-year deal here for Fields. It's not like it's a long-term thing. So, that's my thing. It's a 2-year deal, which is nice. He's definitely starting this year, but if they suck again this year, he's right out the door. So, it's just short-term value. I don't think you can put him in the top 20, but he's, somewhere outside.
I think he's awful close to that because of the rushing equity.
Would you rather have Anthony Richardson or Justin Fields?
Fields. I got zero chill on that. You know why? Because I've been looking very carefully when I watched Richardson last year for development evolution. And my concern is this: we're in this weird cycle with Anthony Richardson where, I wish NFL Europe still had existed or something else where he could go play, right? Where he could go play and get reps.
Or perhaps staying in college another year would have been.
Or perhaps staying in college another year, or going into the transfer portal and playing with a real offense somewhere and all that. That would have been good. But I feel like the catch-22 with him is that it's a guy that needs a ton of reps. At the NFL level, if you're not performing well and you're not making those incremental, changes and you're getting W's, you get pulled. And that you just continue the cycle over and over again. And there's no developmental NFL league.
But what is the low side of Richardson? The low side of Richardson is exactly what we're seeing with Justin Fields right now.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
If he doesn't make it in Indy, he's getting another shot. He is, Joe. There's not enough quarterbacks in the NFL. So he'll do the exact same thing that Fields just did.
Richardson and Steichen's got a little bit of pressure on him this year. Aaron Glenn's got no pressure. They can start Fields for a whole year, eat it, whatever it is, good, bad, indifferent, but fantasy points abound. I don't care. But Richardson, on the other hand, Steichen's got a little pressure on him. Did make the playoffs last year before they did. There's been a lot of, the Ursays are crazy. Like there's a lot there where I think you could say, look, there's a little bit of pressure. Let's see who they bring in with Indianapolis too to play quarterback, because that is going to be the next one. So we'll keep you up to date here before we leave today. Perhaps more breaking news. But in the meantime, let's have some fun. There was not one, but of course, two strange robberies this weekend. Now, luckily, none of them involved anybody with the Kansas City Chiefs, so that's a positive there. But let's talk about a man in the United Kingdom who was arrested in a cheese heist. The imposter stole $389,000 worth of cheese. The man is detained on suspicion of fraud by false representation by handling stolen goods. 48,500 pounds of the high value cheddar cheese. So first of all, I didn't realize any cheese could be this expensive. Second of all, Boggs, where were you last weekend?
That's none of your business, Joe. All right.
Yeah.
You can't prove anything.
Just curious.
No, you can't. Yeah. What is this? Listen, you have to tell me what crime I've committed to get me to show you my ID. I've seen that on Instagram.
This is definitely something I would do. Roll back up though, because the first thing I was curious, scroll back up to the picture of it. I was like, what kind of cheese? This is important. You said cheddar. I went, oh, and I looked, that's not cheddar cheese.
No,
those are all, I think those are all covered wheels.
Those are the covered wheels, and then they open up the things. The Grana Padanos and those kind of cheeses there, they are in these like giant wheels, and then they open them up a certain way and unseal them.
Jesus, where were you, bro?
Yeah, where were you?
I mean, yeah, you know how to open all these things? Come on.
You got a new TV back there. How'd you afford that new TV?
That is a good point. This is a new TV. I did just get this. My cholesterol apparently is too high, though. So I actually have to scale back from the cheese, which is a problem because I love cheese. I can still have the ricotta. I can still have the mozzarella, but some of the other cheeses. And this is a problem. So cheese boards on the table, fellas. Where are you going for your cheese? The Gouda's out there, the Munster's out there, the Colby Jack, the Pepper Jack, which is, I feel like the cheese, either you love it or you hate it. Welsh, what's the cheese you're going to first? Football Sunday, cheese boards out, charcuterie me.
Oh, first it's going to be the sharpest of cheddar. I'm going with the sharp of cheddar. Yes.
Boggs, how about you?
It's
cheese
also
of choice.
cheddar. Cheddar is my absolute favorite. I'm a big fan of Gouda as well.
Gouda's terrific. What about the Havarti? Like the soft cheeses, or are you more of the hard cheese kind of guy?
I don't know. There's not too many types of cheeses you're going to name here outside of pimento that I don't like. So
I don't like the pepper jack. The pepper jack I don't do. I don't like the spicy
pepper
cheese.
jack is fine. It's not my favorite. It's not my go-to. I'll leave it on the board, but I like pepper jack doesn't ruin. I know some people hate it. Pepper jack doesn't ruin anything for me.
What do you think of the cheese ball? I always think that's a weird thing. I like it, but I feel dirty eating it, Welsh.
Yeah, I mean, it feels very much like here's your cheese ball with your, side of Spam that we just cooked up on the fryer. Like, it doesn't seem like a high class type of
thing. No, that's the spray cheese, Welsh. Come on, everybody knows. Spray cheese goes right on top of the Spam.
Ball, it's like constructed and there's like nuts around it, or like the port wine cheese. Like, there's a lot of things. The process of making the cheese ball.
Port wine can kick rocks.
I don't want nuts on the cheese either. No thanks.
All right. Well, not to be outdone, of course, there was another heist this weekend too. And it involved something that you shouldn't eat. And of course, who was behind it? It was a Florida man. So if you can believe this, and I know you can because it's Florida, a Florida man swallowed $769,000 worth of jewelry from Tiffany & Company. Police arrested him. What I love about this is they actually had to take an actual x-ray to prove of where the jewelry was, that he did take the jewelry, because he could say, I don't have it. But there it was. There's the x-ray for this gentleman. Boggs, it continues to astound me what goes down in the state of Florida. But
I'm going to be in Florida next week too, or this week too.
Well, so. I can't imagine that the aftermath of this crime, you think it's going to be worth it?
You remember the episode of South Park where they went to the caves and they had the fake treasure?
Oh yeah.
And Cartman found it and thought it was real treasure.
Yes.
100%. And then he crapped treasure. Like, this is what this feels like right here. Like, this is South Park imitating life. This is insane.
You guys are gonna die. You can't have metal in your body like that. That's too much metal.
No, he's gonna throw it up. He's a magician. He's fine.
You know who I feel bad for? I feel bad for the evidence person, because eventually they have to watch this guy. They have to get the evidence out of him.
Yeah,
and then collect it, clean it, I assume. And that's a dirty job.
To get that out, right? Like, you can't.
I think you pass it naturally first.
Yeah, like that was what did he swallow rings? Like, there's edges and stuff. That's not good.
See if I can find exactly what kind of jewelry it was, but it doesn't say. I mean, look, it's Tiffany. He could have swallowed two things, and it could have been
right. That's true.
It could have been a ring. Here it is. Police said that he stole 4 pair of 4.8 carat diamond earrings. Worth $160,000.
Don't want those going through your guts, especially if they still have the tab on them. No thanks.
Here you go. Look, check this out. And a pair of 8 carat diamond earrings worth $609,000. And he was accused of stealing a ring worth $587,000, which was later recovered. The means by which they recovered, we don't know. But there you have it. Some weird things going on in terms of heists. Not quite Ocean's 11 style, but I don't know. I remember Brad Pitt ingesting anything in Ocean's 11. I'm pretty sure. Like, he was grazing around the buffets in Vegas, but I don't remember them swallowing any of the jewelry or anything weird.
This is the whole reason why Joe didn't watch Ocean's 13, is because they were swallowing jewelry.
I was afraid of where things would go. But look, a lot of things are still going here. Make sure you stay with us on our YouTube channel for more coverage of NFL free agency. Subscribe to Fantasy Pros wherever you get your podcasts as well. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Ring the bell till it goes ding, because a lot of moving parts here in the NFL. And my goodness, it is getting red hot there. Unfortunately, as of right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers don't have a quarterback, but I am pushing for that live reaction video, Welsh, of Scott Bogman when that happens, for better or worse. Are you with me?
I'm with you. I'll record it.
Yeah.
Definitely worse.
Yeah, that's going to be behind the paywall, folks, because it's going to be filled with words that you
my
can't
first
say.
video on OnlyFans.
There you go.
He's going to be eating jewelry at the whole time.
Would you rather eat earrings and pass them or have Aaron Rodgers be your quarterback next year?
Ooh,
Scott
Give
Bogman?
me earrings. Only
Wow,
one way to
zero
find out,
chill.
right?
Wow. Zero hesitation on that one. That was you got to leave on that note. That'll
mean,
do it for us.
Give me the earrings and a booster.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. We'll give him a shot in the earrings. No Aaron Rodgers. We'll see how it goes for Bogdan. Fingers crossed. Either way, entertainment's coming. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Scott Bogman and the Welsh, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Enjoy NFL free agency. Taking the earrings. Yikes. Maybe you can put them in a piece of cheddar cheese. Maybe that'll work for you.
Better than pimento.
What are those weird necklaces Aaron Rodgers would wear? You have to eat one of those. Or
Ayahuasca necklace?
not the ayahuasca one, but the wood one.